At this point, I've made a good handful of videos on Spider-Man's overhead slam tech. Whether you've seen those or not, this is the video for you. I fully believe that this is the last video on overhead slam rewards that I or anyone else will have to make. Short of an update that overhauls the whole system, I've got every last detail down to a science now. I'll circle back to how we got here, but for the sake of future-proofing the video, let me start by laying out exactly how overhead slams work. When you're playing Spider-Man, there are two types of overhead slams that the game is invisibly tracking at all times. We usually call these the swing overhead and the jump overhead, named after the main ways of acquiring these overheads, by web swinging and double jumping respectively. On top of this, the game also tracks whether you have a double jump available, which is very important for overhead logic. These hidden variables are handled with three main functions or operations in the code. One for giving you an overhead, one for taking an overhead away, and one for refreshing your double jump. The function which gives you an overhead checks to make sure that you're not on the ground, then checks whether you have a double jump available. If you're currently able to use a double jump, you'll get a swing overhead, but if you don't have a double jump available, you'll get a jump overhead. This is why using a swing, which refunds your double jump when it attaches to the wall, gives you a swing overhead when it ends. You have your double jump available from using the swing. And when you double jump, your double jump is first consumed, then the overhead reward sees that there isn't a double jump available, and therefore it awards a jump overhead. The function which removes an overhead is primarily designed for taking away your overhead slam when you use it. First, it checks to see if you have a swing overhead, and if so, takes it away. Otherwise, it removes your jump overhead. This means that if you have both overhead slams available, you can use them both, but the swing overhead is consumed first. Finally, the function for refreshing your double jump takes away an existing jump overhead while enabling him to double jump again. This allows Spidey to use multiple double jumps when he uses web swings and uppercuts to increase his airtime. When Spider-Man's other abilities grant or remove an overhead slam, they all do it using these three operations, and the nuance of the interactions simply comes down to the timing of when they're executed. Let's walk through the specifics of each interaction. We'll bring up the edge cases as we go, and hopefully you'll see that they make a lot more sense than we used to think. Starting up an overhead requires you to have a jump or swing overhead, and we'll call the remove overhead function. So you only need to have an overhead available at the very start of your attack, and it gets removed right away. This means that an overhead which you cancel, no matter how early, does get used up. Speaking of losing overheads, when Spidey touches the ground, his double jump is refreshed, removing his jump overhead, and his swing overhead is also removed. Pair this with the fact that an overhead can't be awarded while Spidey is grounded, and this means that it's impossible to hold onto any kind of overhead while standing on the ground. As we said a moment ago, you only need to have an overhead available at the start of the attack. An overhead which has already started won't be interrupted when you hit the ground, because it no longer cares about which charges you do and don't have after starting. The last way of losing an overhead is by using get over here targeting. This reuses the same function designed for when you lose an overhead by using it, so even though get over here targeting can remove either a swing overhead or a jump overhead, if you have both, it will only take one, which is the swing overhead first. Notice in the code that I've given that it attempts to remove your overhead before it runs the code which handles cancelling any ongoing abilities, such as a swing. This ends up being meaningful because a swing awards an overhead the moment that it ends, which is indicated by the swing icon in the bottom right of your screen changing from yellow to white or red. This means that cancelling a swing with get over here targeting will first remove an overhead if you have one, then it will award an overhead, as long as you aren't touching the ground. Now, the ending of the swing doesn't handle all of the overhead logic. There's another block of code which runs when the swing connects to a wall, which refreshes your double jump. So a swing that connects to a wall will refresh your double jump at the start and award an overhead at the end, without giving you any window to use the double jump. This means that a web swing which connects up high will always give you a swing overhead, because you will always have a double jump available when the award overhead function runs. But if your swing doesn't connect to a wall, it never refreshes your double jump. This means that if you miss or cancel a swing, it can award you a jump overhead if you don't have a double jump available when it ends. When you shoot your web at the sky or at a wall that's over 30 meters away, which we call a swing whiff, you can still take all of your regular actions before the swing ends, which means you can start the whiff on the ground, jump, and get an overhead awarded as long as you're mid-air when the swing ends. You can also use the time before the swing whiff ends to use two punches, the second of which overlaps with the overhead slam and move stacks with it, which we call the unique 3-hit combo. Similarly to these timing quirks, when you web zip to the ground, the swing is considered to continue after the roll animation ends, indicated by the yellow swing icon. If you jump before this turns white, you'll be airborne when the swing ends, awarding you an overhead. But bear in mind that if you cancel a swing with a tracer, it immediately ends your swing, so the window for these particular timing quirks no longer exists. Spidey's wall crawl is very similar to his swing. Your double jump is refreshed when you grab the wall, and an overhead is awarded when the wall crawl ends. Like we saw with his web zip, the wall crawl state, indicated by the ability icons being red, ends later than you might expect. This means that you can climb off of a wall, jump before the wall crawl ends, and be airborne to receive the overhead reward. It also means that you can jump onto a wall, double jump right after getting off of it, and you'll have no double jump when the wall crawl ends. So instead of getting the usual swing overhead from wall crawling, you get a jump overhead. The last way of getting an overhead in Spidey's base kit is through a double jump. Upon starting a double jump, you lose the ability to double jump again and immediately gain an overhead. Because these functions execute back to back, there are no timing windows to make this do anything other than give you a jump overhead. Now your double jump is refreshed by an uppercut, which then also ends active abilities such as a swing. This means that if you swing whiff without a double jump available, which would usually pay out a jump overhead, and cancel the swing with an uppercut, your double jump will be refreshed before the swing is ended, meaning you will get a swing overhead. Finally, the burn tracer refreshes your double jump and immediately pays out an overhead, so this will always be a swing overhead. So that should be every single overhead interaction and all of the related edge cases. It seems like a lot at first, but I've made this cheat sheet where you can see that it's actually not too overwhelming at all. I'll put a link to a copy of that in the description for anyone who wants it. Now let me introduce you to the sequence which led me to figuring out those last details that my previous videos were missing. For anyone who isn't aware, I launched an open challenge a few days ago. Whoever could explain a weird overhead interaction would win a free skin of their choosing. You see, it was a win-win. Everyone gets a fun little brain teaser, someone gets a skin as a trophy, I get to offset the cost of the skin with the video's revenue, and then one of you solved it in under 4 hours. And claim the No Way Home bundle? It's over, man, I'm never getting my money back. So please like, comment, subscribe, share this video, help me out with this one guys or my accountant's gonna kill me. I'm just kidding. I don't have an accountant. But in all seriousness, big congrats to Tutatil for being the first one to nail it down. I did actually solve this myself in the process of recording and editing the competition video, but I couldn't share it until the giveaway was over. The answer that I was looking for was that an overhead payout from a swing whiff depends on whether you have a double jump available, and Tutatil hit the nail on the head. The particular problem in the last video boiled down to the fact that the sequence double jump, overhead, swing whiff, get over here targeting awards a jump overhead, when according to the rules as we knew them at the time, this should have given a swing overhead. This basically came down to a misunderstanding of how the web whiff payout worked. A misunderstanding which I suppose I helped to propagate through my web whiff video. Now that we understand overhead payouts better, let's walk through the sequence together. The double jump is consumed and we get a jump overhead, which I then get rid of by using it. But burning the overhead turns out not to be important to the interaction at all. Then we swing whiff and cancel it with get over here targeting. Whether we burned the jump overhead or not, we would now have no overhead as get over here targeting takes it away. After removing an overhead, get over here targeting ends our swing, which awards an overhead. Since we have no double jump, this awards a jump overhead. Because we end with a jump overhead, we can use it immediately after get over here targeting, as long as we don't touch the ground. But if we use an uppercut, we refresh our double jump and lose the overhead. It's a bit to take in, but once you start applying it and labbing overhead rewards, it starts making a lot of sense. And most importantly, it works. I've yet to find a single scenario where this explanation of overhead rewards doesn't predict what will happen flawlessly. Feel free to leave questions in the comments below. If they're straightforward, I'll answer them in the replies, but if I get some more complicated questions or a bunch of people asking similar questions, then I might make a follow-up video talking through the process of a couple more examples. Until then, it looks like I'm going to be free to work on some projects which aren't related to this one attack. I'll probably put up a post where you can vote on which of my projects you guys most want to see me finish next. So check out the community tab on my channel if you want to have your say in that. But that's all for now. Cheers.